Hi, today I'm going to go over some basic tips to get you started on painting miniatures for board games or tabletop games. Step 1. Cleaning your minis. If the figure is already primed, you can skip this step. Before you prime, you'll want to clean your figures. Cleaning the figure allows the primer to adhere to the figure better. Use lukewarm or warm water and a few drops of dish soap. You can wash them with your hands or scrub them with a toothbrush. Finally, rinse them thoroughly to remove all the soap and set them aside to dry. Step 2. Attach a handle. Before you prime or start painting, it's helpful to fix your mini to some sort of handle. This could be a bottle cap, golf tees, or fancy handles like this one from Redgrass. You can use putty or Elmer's glue to attach the mini to the handle. I like Elmer's glue because it'll adhere more strongly to the figure. If you use golf tees, you'll need some sort of foam or cardboard to stick the golf tee into when you aren't painting the figure. And also, if the figure has a large base, sometimes the figure doesn't stay on the golf tee very well. And in that case, you might want to use a cork or bottle cap or something like that instead. Step 3. Time to prime. Now that the figure is clean and mounted to a handle, you are ready to start priming. There are different ways to prime, different colors to prime with, and different methods, but I won't go into all those variants and instead will focus on basic primer for new painters. I'm going to use a gray brush-on primer. This is the primer that comes with the Army Painter Fanatic starter set. Use a junk brush and lightly cover the figure. The primer doesn't need to be fully opaque. It's okay if some of the original plastic shows through. You also don't want to put too thick a coat on the figure or you risk covering up some of the more subtle details on the figure. Step 4. Slap chop, also known as dry brushing for speed paints or contrast paints. The typical method for slap chop is to dry brush gray and white over black primer, but because I primed with a medium gray primer, I'll just dry brush the mini with white paint instead. The Marvel United minis I'm painting have a brighter, bolder color palette, and not using black primer should hopefully help give the final look a brighter, flatter overall look. The reason you dry brush before painting with speed paints is because speed paints are translucent, so dry brushing white creates a grayscale which will push the lowlights and highlights that the speed paint creates. Focus on the raised areas of the figures. You don't want to cover the recessed areas. You'll want to keep those darker to create a better low light. When you dry brush, you'll want to dip the brush into the paint, but then wipe off as much as you can on a paper cloth or towel so that the paint brushes on very lightly. It creates a more dusted looking texture over the figure and is how you create that grayscale look.